Hey, my name is Ethan and I am 27 years old. I am originally from a little town in Iowa, quiet, bland, and plain. Nothing much ever occurred there, which was soothing for a time before it wasn't. I used to work at a small neighborhood tech repair company. We repaired everything from cracked phones to broken printers. It was consistent work and I was good at it. But deep down I knew I wanted more. 6 months ago, I received a call that altered everything. A mid-sized but fast-developing IT company in Omaha discovered my resume online and wanted to offer me a career. They were searching for someone with hands-on experience as well as adaptability hunger and a high tolerance for pressure. The offer, if I agreed to relocate, they would pay for my housing for the first year, give me a higher salary, and give me a fresh start. I recall being outside my parents' house the night before my departure. My mother hugged me for a little too long. My father, while he gave me a firm handshake and a rare, "I'm proud of you," that was sufficient. I packed my old Civic with whatever I could fit, drove out and never looked back. The metropolis was initially overwhelming in terms of sensory input traffic, quick-talking people, and lights that did not fade at night. I moved into a modest but spotless company-owned apartment. It wasn't elegant, but it felt a lot better than the attic bedroom I was staying in back home. My first week on the job was a blur orientation, new names I couldn't recall, and lots of Slack notifications. I thought I had drowned it all, but then I met Sophia. She was a senior specialist on my team, mid-30s, keen eyes, and calm energy. She didn't treat me as a dumb rookie, but rather as someone in need of guidance, which she readily provided. She demonstrated how to use the internal systems, warned me about picky clients, and even gave her audit findings from last quarter. I did not ask for it. She simply handed me a folder one day with a little smile and said, "Believe me, this will save you from drowning." She was correct. Initially, everything was done purely professionally. I didn't want to be the new guy who became overly nice, but as we worked together, I noticed how easy it was to talk to her. She had a dry sense of humor that slashed through office stress like a scalpel. We began getting coffee after team meetings, staying in the break room a few minutes longer than necessary. Nothing inappropriate, simply authentic, comfortable, and safe. After really difficult days, she would occasionally propose stopping for coffee on the way out. Not the phony, "We should hang out someday," but the genuine, "Come on, let's decompress." We would sit outside, drink coffee, and speak not just about business, but also about living in tiny towns versus big cities, our favorite takeout restaurants, and random YouTube channels. She never revealed anything about her personal life except to state that she had 2 children and a spouse, but it was always ambiguous. No names or tales. Nonetheless, I respected the boundary. I was not trying to push anything. I was just really enjoying the connection. By the 3rd month, I thought I'd found my groove. My job improved, clients were happier, and supervisors began to trust me with more challenging duties. I was creating something tangible here, and Sophia had an important role in that. She never accepted credit, but I knew her kindness and mentoring were important in my personal development. It was one week in early October when things became quite frantic. One of our largest clients threatened to cancel if we did not resolve a severe system issue within 48 hours. The entire team stayed late. Stress levels were high. People took pictures, but not Sophia. She remained calm, worked beside me, and even brought snacks from home and distributed them without saying a word. I recall watching her that night and how she remained calm as everyone else panicked. She was unique, not just educated, but also grounded, as if she had seen worse and learned how to deal with it. Following that, our friendship strengthened. Nothing romantic, just mutual respect, appreciation, and something we both danced around without saying. Then came the 6th month. That's when things began to change, but I'll get to that. For now, I'll just say this. When I moved here, I assumed I was beginning a career. I had no idea I was about to start something far more complicated. It was Thursday. Initially, nothing extraordinary occurred. The day had been long client calls, internal modifications, and bug reports piled up. The kind of day that makes you wonder why you ever applied for a corporate job in the first place. Sophia stopped by my desk as I was winding things up late yet again. She paused for a minute, arms crossed, and jacket hung over one shoulder. "Are you going out?" she asked. I nodded simply, shutting down. She paused. "Would you mind walking with me for a bit? I do not feel like taking the bus tonight." I gazed at her for a second. It was late and already dark outside. However, her tone of voice was different when she inquired. Not flirtatious, not formal, simply tired, human. "Yes, of course," I said. "Where are we going?" She smiled slightly. "Nowhere in particular. I don't want to go straight home." We exited the building and went outside into the chilly night. The walkways were calm with the city humming softly in the backdrop. We walked side by side and quiet for a few minutes. There was no destination, no urgency. Then she spoke. She said, "I hate going home lately." She focused on the sidewalk. "Feels like walking into a wall." I looked at her but didn't say anything yet. My kids are generally asleep by the time I arrive. My parents watch them while I am at work. And my spouse, she paused. He is either out with buddies or sleeping on the couch. I wasn't sure what to say. I had never inquired about her personal life before. It never seemed like my place. But now she was opening the door just a little. "I do everything," she continued. "Bill's food, school, dentist visits, and laundry dinners. He hasn't worked for 3 years. He says he's attempting to work things out. Meanwhile, I'm simply surviving." I paused walking. She took a few steps before realizing I wasn't with her anymore. She turned back, her brows slightly elevated. "I had no idea," I admitted gently. Sophia offered a bitter laugh. "Yeah, I normally don't tell anyone. What's the point?" I got up to her and we continued walking. I didn't inquire. I just listened. She told me on how her parents had to step in and help with the kids. How the man she once loved had devolved into a roommate with whom she rarely communicated. No infidelity, no screaming bouts, just distant solitude and tiredness. "I feel invisible," she admitted at one point. "I feel as if I'm simply going through the motions. Wake up, get the kids ready, work all day, return home, clean up after everyone, and go to bed. Repeat." There was a prolonged pause. She abruptly came to a halt. We were on a quiet street just a block or two from the Riverwalk. A street light overhead cast a lovely orange glow. She stared at me, actually looked at me for the first time, and my heart slowed. "I'm not sure why I'm telling you all this," she whispered. I didn't respond. Before I could process it, she took a step closer, leaned in, and kissed me just like that. It was not long. It was not intended, but it was not hesitant. It was hard and real, full of something I couldn't identify. I froze. When she pulled back, I just stood there stunned. She looked aside quickly as if ashamed of herself. "What was that?" I asked barely above a whisper. She closed her eyes. "I apologize. I should not have. She took a breath. "I'm not sure what came over me." I shook my head slightly, still comprehending. "Why me?" She looked up, her gaze, hazy yet steady. Then she said it. The words I didn't expect and will never forget, "because being with you makes me feel alive." My throat clenched. I wasn't sure what to say. I was not angry. I was not even confused. Just overwhelmed, touched, and afraid of what this meant. She stepped back. "I should go." I nodded. "Okay, I understand. See you tomorrow," she said hastily, almost as a reflex. Then she turned and walked out into the night. I watched her leave till she vanished around a corner. That night, I was unable to sleep, not 1 minute. My thoughts raced. What exactly did that mean? Was she only in pain, looking for a moment of comfort? Was this about me, or was it simply about escaping? Part of me wanted to call her. Part of me wanted to forget what had happened. But most importantly, I wanted to comprehend. The next morning at work, she arrived as if nothing had happened. Professional, composed, not cold, just neutral. She gave me a fleeting glance during a morning meeting. No words, no signals. It was as if the night before had been a dream that neither of us would confess. However, for me, everything had changed. The following week was one of the craziest I've ever known. Sophia and I acted as if nothing had occurred. At least she did: meetings, team meets, and huddles, client calls. She remained exactly the same, calm, professional. even a touch sarcastic as always. If anyone saw us together, they'd have no idea what happened on the street that night. But I couldn't fake it like she did. Every time I heard her voice, felt her standing alongside me during work, or caught her eye in a mirror, I was transported back to that moment. Her lips met mine, her voice low and exhausted, and she said, "Because you make me feel alive." I could not quit thinking about it. Perhaps that would have been all right if it had only been the kiss, if I could have dismissed it as a desperate reaction from someone under pressure. But it wasn't only that. It represented everything that had come before it. She trusted me the way she had gradually opened up over months. We exchanged silence as if it was meaningful. And now nothing, just the unimaginable silence, as if someone had pressed pause and then forgot to press play again. I began to move away subtly. I skipped coffee breaks. I left meetings a little faster. I answered her inquiries directly without using any unnecessary words. I was not being rude. I was simply attempting to protect myself, trying to make sense of it all without telling her how shaken I was. By midweek, she had noticed. We were working late on a software issue. After everyone else had left, only the two of us remained at our desks. She looked up and asked, "Ethan, are we okay?" The way she said it quietly and thoughtfully revealed everything. She felt the stress, too. She wasn't pretending that nothing had happened. She just wasn't sure what to do with it. I nodded, avoiding her gaze. "Yeah, just tired." A heartbeat passed. "That's not what I intended." I exhaled. "I understand." Silence. And then I did something I should have done days ago. Stood up, walked over to her desk, and perched on its edge. Close enough to talk, quietly far enough to avoid feeling pressured. "Why are you still with him?" I asked. Her face froze for a second before softening. She didn't seem surprised, just sad. "I've asked myself that more times than I can count," she admitted. I waited. She exhaled and rested her hands in her lap. I believed for a long time it was fear. Fear of being alone, of failing my children. Fear of what others would say. But recently it's guilt. Guilt for considering leaving, for thinking of someone else, for seeking something better when I promised to make this work. I nodded slowly. "But you also mentioned you were drowning." She nodded. Her eyes remained riveted on her hands. "I am, and I know it isn't sustainable, but there's always a voice in my head. What if I mess everything up? What if leaving hurts my kids more than staying? It's as if I'm stuck between two horrible options." I took a long breath. Then cautiously I remarked, "You deserve more than survival." Her eyes greeted mine. For the first time that night, there was something in them. Hope maybe, or desperation, or both. "I understand," she muttered. "But what happens if I fall apart? What if I leave and can't keep it together?" I did not have a perfect solution. I wasn't going to promise her a fairy tale, but I couldn't be silent either. "I'm not suggesting I know all the solutions," I said. "But if you choose to leave, if you really determine that this cannot continue, I will be there. You do not have to do it alone." She said nothing, just sat with those words. I stood up. I did not want to stay in that moment for too long. "I am not pushing you. This is your life. It's your call." But I meant all I said. She nodded. "Thank you." As I approached the exit, I turned back and asked gently, "Do your children know you're unhappy?" She paused. "They see it. Children are not stupid." That answer stuck with me all the way home. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I wondered how I'd gotten from tech support in a small town to this. Carrying the emotional one of a woman I had grown to care deeply about, I was fully aware of how complicated it was. I was not naive. I knew exactly how it looked. But nothing about it felt wrong, just unfinished. The following few days we didn't discuss it again. But something had shifted. Sophia appeared lighter, somehow not pleased, just more observant, as if a choice was developing in her head. Quiet yet steady. I did not bring it up again. I did not need to. I just waited. The next 2 weeks felt like walking on a tight beam. Nothing dramatic occurred. However, you could sense something in the air, like the initial tenseness before a storm. Sophia stopped talking about her husband. Not in passing, not frustrated, not at all. But she appeared different. Her demeanor was calm. like her mind was continually elsewhere. A part of me feared I had pushed her too far with what I said that evening, but another part of me hoped selfishly, maybe that she was now thinking of herself, really thinking. I maintained my distance. Not that I didn't care, but I did not want to affect her. I had spoken everything I needed to say. The remainder needed to be hers. Then one Monday morning, she arrived late, silent, much more than normal. No makeup, hair pulled back in a jumble. She did not explain. Nobody asked. Around noon, while we were alone in the break room, I noticed it. Something happened. "You okay?" I asked gently. She stared at me and then down at the table. I filed the paperwork as she stated. It only took me a second. "For a divorce," she nodded. "Last Friday." I slumped back in my chair. I did not smile. I did not react with relief. It did not feel like a victory. "What drove you to do it?" I asked quietly. She paused. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "My youngster asked whether I was sick. They said I always appear unhappy. He said he preferred it when I smiled like I used to." I felt a knot form in my throat, and she added, "I understood that he already knew." They both did. I was attempting to shield them from what they were already living inside of. I nodded, remaining silent. "It wasn't just because of you," she explained. "I need you to understand that." "I know," I replied. "So I did. But I am delighted you're doing what you need to do." The next 2 weeks were difficult for her. Legal meetings, custody arrangements, and late-night conflicts at home left her exhausted at work. Her husband did not oppose her leaving. He did not cry or plead or perhaps resist vigorously. According to what she told me, he simply shrugged and remarked, "I guess it's over then." It was bizarre. She stated she anticipated him to yell, become upset, and try to cling on to something. But there was nothing but indifference, and it pained her more than any conflict could. She moved in with her parents, temporarily bringing her children with her. The dwelling was small and overcrowded. However, she stated that it was the first time in years she felt comfortable walking through the door. Her children adjusted easily. They appeared happier, lighter, as if an invisible weight had been lifted from each of them. Through it all, I remained near yet cautious. I assisted her when she requested. I watched the kids for a few hours one weekend as she went through paperwork. I drove her to court once because her car wouldn't start. Brought her food on nights when she lacked the energy to prepare. But I didn't ask for anything more. Then one Saturday evening, we sat in her parents' backyard after the kids had gone to bed. The house was peaceful with porch lights buzzing softly above us. She was sipping tea and snuggled up under a blanket on the old wooden seat. "I used to believe I couldn't do this alone," she added quietly, looking across at me. "Now I believe I can, but I do not want to." I did not say anything. I did not need to. She grabbed for my hand. "Ethan, I am not sure what this is yet, but I would like to figure it out with you." I softly grasped her hand. "So do I." Things progressed organically after that. Not fast nor sluggish, just right. I spent more time with her and the children, but I never pushed myself into their space. They opened up to me on their own. Her daughter Ava began asking me for assistance with a school project. Her kid Noah asked if I could teach him how to fix things like in the movies. Her parents were suspicious at first. I was younger. I was not from their world. But they noticed how Sophia changed when I was present. How she grinned more. How she breathed easier. They gradually accepted me, not with fanfare, but with gentle nods and extra meal portions at the table. A few months later, she had her own place. Simple, clean, and full with sunlight. I helped her move in, constructed the furniture, and hung the drapes. She handed me a key without saying anything. I stored it in my wallet for a week before utilizing it for the first time. One evening, as we were putting the kids to bed, Ava asked if I was her new dad. Sophia and I glanced at each other. She smiled slightly and replied, "Not yet, honey, but maybe someday." I did not expect to become emotional, but I did. Sophia laid her head against my shoulder as we sat on the couch after the kids had gone to bed. "I'm still recuperating," she added, still sorting everything out. I nodded. "I agree." She smiled but didn't look at me. "But I know I am no longer alone." Neither was I. 2 years have passed since that evening in Sophia's parents' lawn, when she grabbed my hand and told me she wanted to work things out with me. A lot has changed since then. Some things happen slowly, others quickly. We currently live together in a 3-bedroom rental property, just outside of the city, in a peaceful neighborhood with wide pathways and maple trees that turn fiery red in the fall. It's not fancy, but it is ours. The kids each have their own room, and there is a little enclosed backyard where Noah plays soccer and Ava draws with chalk on the pavement. We never had a large wedding. Neither of us desired it. No white dress, tuxedo cake, or DJ. Just a short ceremony at City Hall with the kids standing next to us and her parents sitting in the front row. I wore a navy blue shirt. She wore a cream-colored dress and minimal makeup. She appeared radiant. I hadn't seen her this happy in years. We recited our vows quietly. Mine were not ideal. My voice cracked a few times, but I meant every word. I informed her I was not coming in to save her, that I was not come to replace anyone or change the past, just to create something real together. She cried. I did too. The kids applauded after we kissed. We went out for burgers afterwards. No spectacular gestures, no major announcements on social media, but from that moment on, we were a family. And around 8 months later, we became even more into one. She told me she was pregnant on a dreary Wednesday morning. I had just returned from a morning run, totally wet with my sneakers squeaking on the tile. She gave me a tiny envelope. Inside, there was an ultrasound shot in a sticky note that asked, "Are you ready for round 3? I sat down on the floor in the corridor. I did not cry. I simply glanced at the image, then at her, whispering, "Are you okay with this?" She smiled faintly. I've never been more certain about anything. The pregnancy was not simple. This time she was older and had been through it twice before, but I was there for every appointment, every hunger, and every late night when her back hurt and she couldn't sleep. The kids were also excited. They spoke to her belly as if it were already a sibling. Ava knitted a small cap. Noah chose our name, Griffin. We declined, but we assured him we'd think about it. And when our kid, Theo, was born, I spent the entire time clutching her hand. That moment was unlike anything I'd ever felt before. Watching someone you care about bring life into the world, knowing that life is a part of both of you. She looked at me later, fatigued and teary-eyed, and whispered, "You gave me this. You gave us this." That sentence still comes back to me from time to time. Theo is just over a year old. He has Sophia's eyes and my smile. He toddles around the house with a stuffed giraffe and giggles when the dog howls. He is infatuated with Noah, believes Ava is a superhero, and clings to Sophia as if she is the center of the universe, which frankly she is. As for me, I'm still with the company promoted to project leader. I'm not attempting to climb some corporate ladder. I simply want to provide to grow. Sophia had considerable time off after Theo's birth, although she has lately returned to work part-time remotely. There is a balance. Some days are messy. Some nights we barely sleep. But it is real and it is ours. There are still difficult days. Parenting fosters the occasional argument about something minor that appears to be significant at the time. But we talk. We do not shut down. We do not withdraw. That is the difference now. We face challenges together. Sometimes I think about that night when she kissed me out of nowhere and I question why me. She answered, "Because you make me feel alive." I didn't completely grasp what she was saying at the time. I assumed it was about romance or escape. But now I understand. It was all about breathing again, laughing again, trusting someone enough to let them inside even when everything breaks. I did not save her. She did not save me. We simply showed up for each other and have done it every day since. That's how the narrative concludes. Not with pyrotechnics or drama, but with breakfast at 7 o'clock a.m., a toddler tugging on my pant leg, Sophia humming as she poured coffee, and a serene sense that despite the tumult of life, we landed precisely where we were supposed to. Ethan's journey with Sophia teaches us that life's most valuable moments often arise from showing up authentically, even in the messiest of circumstances. When Sophia, burdened by an unfulfilling marriage, kissed Ethan unexpectedly, it wasn't just a moment of impulse. It was a cry for connection, a spark of feeling alive again. Ethan could have walked away or pursued a fleeting romance, but instead, he chose to listen to support and to respect her boundaries while she navigated her choices. This restraint and empathy led to a profound bond not built on grand gestures, but on quiet, consistent presence. The lesson here is that love and connection thrive not in saving others, but in standing beside them as they find their strength. Ethan's patience allowed Sophia to reclaim her life, and together they build a family grounded in mutual respect and resilience. This story reminds us that life rewards those who choose compassion over convenience, who stay true to their values even when the path is uncertain. Have you ever faced a moment where supporting someone changed your life's course? Share your experiences in the comments. We're eager to hear how you've navigated life's complex choices. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to join our community of storytellers. Your support fuels these emotional journeys, and we can't wait to connect with you through more tales of growth and hope. Let's keep inspiring each other.